himself and how to turn on interpretation before we get started. Robert?
Sí, buenas tardes. Si alguien ocupa interpretación en español, en la parte inferior de su pantalla puede picar sobre un mundo, un globito, lo cual le va a mandar al enlace de escuchar la versión en español.
Thank you, Robert. Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie. I am the project manager for this project, taking this project from design into construction. If you're familiar with Mallory Roybal, she is our district planning planner, and she will be joining us as well. I'd like to also special thanks to Councilman Cashman and his office for joining us this evening. I'd like to introduce Dig Studio, Dan and Laurel. They are our design consultants for the meeting today and throughout the design process. And we are here to gather feedback specifically for the playground and the new picnic sheltered gathering area in the city of Potenza.
Hi, everybody. I'm Laurel Rains. I'm with Dig Studio, principal, president, and principal in charge of this project for Denver Parks and Rec, working with Dan Sugar. So we're really glad to be here and find out all the input you can give us toward the design of this project.
Yep, my name is Dan Sugar, also at Dig Studio, and thank you all so much for attending this meeting. And we are happy and grateful to hear what you have to say about the new improvements to the City of Potenza Park. To get things started, we'll invite Kathy and Devron, who are from Denver Sister Cities, to give a little introduction on the Sister Cities program in Denver and why there's a park named City of Potenza Park in the city of Denver.
Hi, my name is Kathy Jackson. I am the chair for the Denver Sister Cities Potenza Committee, and we have been a sister city with Potenza since 1983. I personally have been a member since 1995. And there are several reasons we're connected with Potenza. We have a huge community here that immigrated from the Potenza area. A lot of similarities between the cities. It's a mountainous region. They do have, like similar to our Platte River, they've got a river running through the city. It's one of the only regions in Italy, which is different from Denver, but one of the only regions in Italy that has two separate accesses to the sea on the Mediterranean and the Ionian coast. It's earthquake prone. But as far as what we have done with the committee, there's been a lot of engagement with the city of Potenza, doing visits to the region, visits with the mayor. There's a school in the area that once it was destroyed by an earthquake, the United States funded rebuilding the school, and we did a visit to that school. The first envoy from the United States since it was rebuilt about 3 or 4 years ago. We went to visit. Wine tastings. We've brought over pianists and violinists from the area. We have a direct engagement with a local group called We Love Potenza. They're the ones who are actually engaged with us versus through the mayor's office, because volunteerism over there is a little bit different from the United States, but they're an active group, and we're very happy to have their collaboration. So, Devin, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I will just say, I think you had already said that our relationship with them started in 1983 with Mayor Pena. Denver Sister Cities International, our first Sister City relationship was in 1948. It actually preceded Sister Cities International being an entity within the United States, and it started after World War II. We've got 10 sister cities and 3 friendship cities. And our parks are something that's very special to Denver. We are the only city that has parks that are dedicated to all of our sister cities, and it's kind of a destination for when we have delegations come over, especially the adult and the student exchanges. They love to go to their sister cities, so it's something that we really hold dear, and it's just, we're so lucky that Denver cares enough about its sister cities to have dedicated parks. So we're really, really excited that Parks and Rec is taking on this initiative. So that is all for me.
What's so important for these two to tell us a little bit about this is that as we go through the presentation about the shelter and the playground improvements, we are going to offer up some ideas that connect the potential in the redesign to the city of Potenza. And Dan will talk about that further as we go through.
I'd also I forgot to mention the bocce ball. We've got bocce ball tournaments, and the bocce ball court at the city of Potenza Park is really, really popular. And Kathy may have mentioned this, but we do offer scholarships for students traveling to the region as well.
Yep.
Great. Thank you so much, Kathy and Devron. So moving forward, looking at how the park is currently, this is a map of the park as it stands now and some shots of the different areas of the park currently. One thing to note, just in this area where picture A is, just west of that is a storm line, which is underground. So nothing really can be constructed above that storm line. So that's kind of a limit of where things can happen. Then moving around, we see the existing playground, the area east of that. This is space D is between the existing playground and the bocce ball courts, which is one of the options for the picnic shelter. And then E is the second option for the picnic shelter, this existing circular path towards the southeast corner of the park. And looking briefly at the scope of work for this project, the improvements are renovating the existing playground and creating a new picnic shelter. And the total budget for design and construction is $650,000. So to begin the conversation on the picnic shelter, we're going to ask our first polling question. So currently, what size groups and events would you like to see happening at this new picnic shelter at the park? So please select all the answers that you think apply to this question. Large parties, small parties, informal meetups, or everyday lunch or hangouts. So again, please select all the answers that apply to this question for the picnic shelter.
And then be sure to submit it once you've done it.
Yep, thank you.
Can you define large parties?
Good question, Kathy. I guess that's a matter of opinion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I'd say more than one group of people.
Okay, so we're not talking like 200.
No.
No, the structure won't be big enough for 200.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Okay, so we're getting ready to close the poll and show the results. If you have not voted, please put in those last minute votes. before we close up? Dan, if you're able to see the results, it looks like everyone voted for small parties and then informal meetups and everyday gatherings are what came in after that.
Great.
Large parties didn't seem to be that representative of what people would like to see at the shelter.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for participation in the first poll. Okay, moving on. Here are two potential options for where this new picnic shelter could be located. And we'll take a closer look at some of the advantages and disadvantages to either of these locations. Starting with the first location, which is in between the existing playground and the bocce ball court. Some of the advantages of this location are the proximity to the playground and the bocce ball court. It's closer to the street parking on Nebraska Way, as well as the street parking on Mississippi Avenue to the north of the park. There's more open space without some of the trees that are around location number 2. And it's also very visible from the street. Some of the disadvantages of this location, potentially there are fewer of the existing trees that are in the other location. There's less privacy, perhaps because it's closer to the other uses of the park. And there's less potential accessibility with the lack of this existing circular path for option 1. And in the bottom left is an existing photo of what that location looks like.
Can I just ask one question? Two questions?
Sure.
Is the structure going to be covered?
Yes.
And are you suggesting that we would put the structure there without putting a path to it?
No, this is looking at the existing conditions.
Okay. So like the ADA access concern should actually not be a concern really if we do it right.
Yeah, I don't think it's a concern either.
Okay, great.
Good point.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But
Thank
that's
you.
good. But be sure to look at these two options as Dan's presenting them with the idea that you're going to vote for which one you want to vote on.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Great. So option 2 is where the circular existing path is. So one of the advantages of this location is that it spreads out the uses throughout the park. So it's activating more of the park. There's more existing trees surrounding the circular path. It's more of a defined space. And it's further away from the other uses of the park. So perhaps more privacy for events that would take place here. Some of the disadvantages of this location is further from the street parking, both on Nebraska and Mississippi. It's further from the playground, which could be a disadvantage. It's less visible from the street as compared to option 1. And it's closer to the neighbors just south of the park.
And do you know, I'm sorry to keep interrupting you.
Not at all.
I don't know what size structure we're talking about here, but with this particular location E, are we sure we're not going to lose any trees if we put it there?
No, we will not lose any trees.
And so we'll look at considering the size after this, but this is looking at just the location, not
Okay.
considering
Yeah,
what it would look like or how big it would be.
Yeah, and what with Denver Parks and Rec's recommendations and forestry recommendations, we will not lose any trees in any of the designs.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So this is the map of both locations, and we'll ask you to answer the next polling question, which should pop up for you. And
Location 1 or 2.
Yep. So
All
please
right.
just select one for
I
this.
am not Jesus, but I'm taking over for Jesus. So here is the location for shelter. Which do you prefer? Option 1 or 2? All right, I'm going to end the poll. Looks like everybody answered. Almost. Oh, just kidding. Sorry. I'm going to close it in 2 seconds. Here we go. All right, I think that's showing option 1 is a winner for this meeting.
Great. Thank you all for participating in that question. So now that we've seen the two options for the location, thinking about the size of the picnic area that would be under the shelter, the option for having one seating area with one table, it perhaps could be larger or smaller, but focusing the seating in one location in this picnic area under the shelter, or spreading the seating into multiple locations, again, under the shelter in the picnic area. And then thinking back to how we could celebrate the sister city connection with this park, here's some ways that either the ground of the picnic shelter, the concrete, could be engraved with a message relating to Potenza. Maybe the colors of the shelter itself could relate to Potenza. This also goes for the playground, which we'll look at later. A mural could be, again, on the ground. It could be part of the shelter. It could be a standalone piece that, again, has some acknowledgement of the city of Potenza. And then the last option would be a banner or a sign that could say simply Potenza, Italy, and have a graphic also mentioning the sister cities. Or it could be a number of signs that point to the different sister cities that Denver has throughout the world, maybe saying the distance it is to either one. So we'd like you to vote on not only the picnic area size, so one seating area or multiple seating areas, or the design ideas to celebrate the sister city connection. So again, please choose one answer for both questions.
Okay, and the poll just launched, so you should see 2 questions. You might have to scroll down if you're on a phone. What size of picnic area do you prefer in the shelter? And that's one seating area or multiple seating areas. And which design idea to celebrate the sister city connection is most exciting to you? And that is the engraving, sandblasting on the ground, color theme of Potenza, mural or painting, and or banners and signs. And so you're picking your top one. Right. I'm gonna wait about 5 more seconds, let people finish these. Okay. 2 more seconds and I'm gonna close it out. Oh, there's one more in. Okay, now I'm going to end the poll. And here we go. So multiple seating areas was preferred. And while they all have votes, the engraving sandblasting had the most technically in this meeting.
And one thing to mention is that we are going to have a survey that will be offered to the public following up this meeting. So we will hopefully get additional votes to round out the public's and the community's opinion on these questions.
How will that survey be distributed? Is that just going out like via email to folks?
It'll be a link on the Parks and Rec website.
We can talk about that at the end. I feel like that
Sure.
might be good to chat about after we finish the presentation.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, to start the conversation on the playground now, I'd like to ask the next polling question. So currently, who typically uses the playground? Who have you observed using the playground currently? So again, this question, who typically uses the current playground? Please select all that apply. Ages 5 and under, ages 6 through 10, or ages 11 through 17. You can select all answers that you think apply.
I'm going to give it a few more seconds. Okay, closing the poll. Little of everybody, but definitely people are seeing kids 5 and under.
Great, thank you. So in thinking about the types of playgrounds that could be in this park, each different type of playground has a sort of look and feel that's unique to it. So that could be called a character. So the first option for the look and feel or the character of the playground would be nature play. So these types of playgrounds have more natural looking and feeling elements like logs or boulders for the people to interact with. The next option would be more of a traditional playground with traditional elements such as slides and swings, or a combination of typical playground elements. And the third option would be a themed playground where all the different elements relate to a central theme. So for example, the first picture shows a castle themed playground, or this last one shows a dinosaur themed playground, where all of the elements in the playground relate to that theme. So at this point, we'll ask the next polling question. So of the 3 types of playgrounds, the playground character, nature play, traditional, and themed, which do you prefer? So again, this question, which playground character do you prefer? Please select one. First answer, nature play. Second answer, traditional. Third answer is themed.
Okay, looks like we have everybody voted from what I can tell. I'm going to close it. So pretty divided, but 50% voted for nature play, and I see some chats happening that we might want to discuss later about it.
Hey, I have a quick question on the Cook Park renovations. Are you able to do you know like what type of playgrounds are going in at that park? Isn't one of them natural play?
I don't know. Stephanie, are you on? Do you know if those are nature play? I'd have
I
to
don't
pull
know
up
if
the details.
Mallory is on. Maybe I can get back to you, Kyle, on that one.
If you don't mind, yeah.
Councilman Cashman might be able to speak about that since it's in his district, if you remember.
I have not seen designs for that, but I think it's certainly a great question. Wouldn't want to duplicate.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I can talk to our district planner about, you know, what types of playgrounds are within maybe a 5-mile radius of this too, if we're going more traditional or nature play, since others might already have those amenities. But great question, and I will definitely get back to you. If you want to send me your email, Kyle, I can respond to you.
Thank you.
And can you address the concerns I've seen, which I share, as to whether it's possible to have a nature playground that's truly ADA accessible?
It depends on what you mean by truly ADA accessible. If you mean the ground surface plane being ADA accessible, yes. For instance, that playground on the left could be artificial turf for its fall attenuation surfacing. Or it could be also poured in place, but you know, artificial turf might be nicer because it feels a little bit more nature play-ish. So that would be accessible to get into the elements, but then the elements themselves will have a different degree of accessibility. A lot of play features will have transfer points where you can transfer onto them, but then there's other ADA features that are fully accessible with wheelchairs, etc. So that is a decision to be made on which way to go.
Sure.
But as far as being able to get into the playground, yes, we can do it. It doesn't have to be sand, and it doesn't have to be that engineered wood fiber.
certainly want to keep that top of mind as we move forward.
Okay.
Thank you. So now thinking about the individual elements or groupings of elements that would be in the playground, and these could be in any of those three types of playgrounds. Looking at swinging elements ranging from your traditional swing to an inclusive and accessible swing that could accommodate a wheelchair, or more of a zip line type swing. Climbing elements that are more exploratory or more traditional climbing wall. Inclusive and accessible elements as their own category. Now all the other categories have inclusive and accessible elements as part of them, but this is to gauge the interest of inclusive and accessible elements as their own focus for this playground. The next type are boulder play elements. Play mounds of different colors, sizes for people to climb on. Different types of slides ranging from typical traditional slide to a roller slide and different shapes and colors. Spinning elements that could be for individuals or for multiple people. Towers that incorporate other elements like slides or climbing. And lastly, tunnels, different shapes and sizes that allow people to go through these elements. So in thinking of these 9 different categories of play elements, we'd like to ask the next polling question. So looking at all of these, which 3 elements would you like to see included in the new playground? And for this one, please select your top 3 choices. First is swinging, next climbing, inclusive and accessible, boulder play, play mounds, slides, spinners, towers, and tunnels. Again, please select your top 3.
Thank you. And you may have to scroll down again to see all of the options. Give it a little bit more time.
This also might be a good segment since we were talking about Cook Park. If you see play elements that you've seen in other parks in Denver or outside of Denver that have been really successful, we'd love to hear your ideas on that too.
And I will close the poll in about 5 seconds. Okay. All right, I'm going to close the poll. Okay, it looks like swings, inclusive and accessible, slides were the top, but some other votes in there that'll be interesting too. And scroll down if you cannot see all of the results.
Great, thank you for your participation in that question. So to wrap things up, the estimated project timeline, so we're doing the public outreach now. Design will start later this summer. Construction is anticipated to start next summer. The total budget for design and construction, again, is $650,000. The project webpage where you can look up the information relevant to this project that's where you'll be able to find the survey that will be available in the next few days. denvergov.org/park projects. You'll be able to scroll down and find City of Potenza Park. And we will be having another public meeting to look at concept designs, and the date is still being determined. So at this point, we would like to open it up to questions and comments.
First, it might be good just to give
sure.
some of that outreach context for the question earlier for the survey. So we will share it via email with everyone that attended, as well as all of the registered neighborhood organizations in the area and the council office. And we will need to get their help in sharing, just like for this meeting. We also are hoping to do a park pop-up where Stephanie and I may come to the park, and I don't know if we've settled on a date yet. I'll let her speak to that, to come survey people who are using the park naturally and may not have heard about the meetings. And we'll also post it on Nextdoor. We'll need help if anyone here is a member of a parent Facebook group in the neighborhood or anything like that. We'll just need your help in sharing it to those pages that I may not be a part of. But social media, web, getting out in the park and getting people to take the survey with us in person.
And also just to mention that in the survey, there's a place to make additional comments if you want to
Yes.
about the questions.
Yes, and then to add to Laura, I will be at the park next Wednesday at 11 tabling for anyone who is interested in speaking in person, if you're able to make it, or to capture those who are already using the park. And then we'll also have the survey out for at least 2 weeks minimum. And we'll keep everyone updated as we progress into more of a conceptual design. That should happen sometime later this summer. But we'll open it up for questions. I'm already looking at the chat. And to my question earlier about other parks that they've loved in the city, Paco Sanchez is always a good favorite. Bluebirds at Stanley Market, and Seacrest Park in Arvada. So also great parks for us to look at as we dive deeper into some of the playground. I will also say that this is partially bond funded, so we will be using bond and CIP funds for this project. Kyle?
I just was hoping for additional details about the construction schedule. So I saw that it says that construction would start in summer of next year, and I'm just wondering if I feel like the park gets the most use in the summer. So I was wondering if there's a reason that we choose summer as the time to move forward with construction.
Yeah, good question. Typically, it takes about a year to get through 100% design or construction documents. So that would be the soonest that we could potentially start if our timelines align. But again, it's dependent on weather, and the bond funding does have to be used within a certain fiscal year. So because it's slated for 2023, usually it takes about a few months to actually complete construction. So summer would be ideal. Understandably, everyone, we're aware that the playground is always a hard one to shut down for a summertime.
Got it. Thank you.
Councilman Cashman?
Yeah, I know we have several people from the Virginia Village Ellis Community Association. I believe I heard the other day that the group is planning a picnic at Potenza in the near future, and I thought that might be a logical place for someone from the team to show up, depending on how that actually is scheduled. And the other thing I wanted to say, as far as outreach, depending on the timing of the next meeting, I would consider flyering the neighborhood, at least portions of the neighborhood close by the park.
Okay, thank you for your suggestion. Does anyone know when that picnic is taking place?
Yeah, this is Josh Ratliff. The picnic is going to be on the 8th. I can send you the flyer we created for that.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great, Josh. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
And Becky, in response to your concern about just letting kids into the playground and not making it accessible. I don't think that's ever what we do. I mean, I think that you try to offer as many accessible options as possible. But if we wanted to truly be focused on a universal playground, that is a different approach. If it's only that exclusively, or you can have both.
See, Andrew Gordon is raising his hand.
Hi, I'm here with my son Oliver. He is wheelchair bound, so being inclusive is very important to us. We're very happy that y'all are putting on, inviting the public to add to this. I think one of the things that's most important to us is anytime there's sand or wood chips, it immediately makes a playground impossible for anybody who has mobility issues to access anything on the playground. I know that there's totally inclusive playgrounds which allow, that have ramps and allow the children to maneuver through the entire park, which is an absolutely amazing thing. There's not really any in the central Denver area. That would be an amazing option, but I know Potenza Park is a smaller park. But just having services such as AstroTurf or the rubber as the entire covering allows our son to actually walk to the swing before we put him on it, or wheel himself to a slide and let us slide him down it. So I hope that that's something that y'all take into consideration as y'all move forward with this plan.
And we are in the neighborhood. We're
half a mile away from the park. We walk to this park.
It's a daily.
At least once a week, if not multiple times a week, to use the swings, use the slides. It's one of our frequent parks.
Well, that's really good to know. It's great information.
Yep, thank you.
Was there any additional questions, comments, concerns?
While we're waiting, I would add, I threw my email there in the chat about that event coming up, but also if anyone is part of a group and wants to make sure they get the survey, if you have any specific suggestions that I can support in getting the survey out, you can email me directly. And Stephanie's is there as well, so both of us.
Okay, well, we'll stay on for a little bit longer, but I think this concludes our first public meeting for City of Potenza. I'm excited to see how this progresses, and we'll be sure to keep everyone updated as we move into maybe a few options for the playground and the picnic shelter for you to comment on again soon.
Thank you all so much for joining. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks for the input. It's really helpful to hear.
I want to thank Parks and Rec for making this happen. It's been a long time in coming. I think it'll serve the community well. Look forward to the process.
Thank you for joining us, Councilman Cashman and your office. We appreciate your support.
You bet.
Thank you.